Yo, what's going on, guys? My name is Flux, and today I have a brand new video for you guys. And today I'm going to be talking about basically my thoughts on the beta, and just in general, I would say what my feel for this game is going to be. So this is going to be a longer video, definitely, and I'm just going to kind of rant on and just kind of talk about my thoughts. So today is the 20th. It is the last day of the beta. We have, I think, 24 days until the full game comes out now. So it's gonna be a long time until we actually get our hands back on the game again. And definitely excited to see what they're gonna do. I'm gonna definitely be excited to see the changes that they're gonna make, and hopefully nothing will be too different, because I think honestly the game is in a really good state with weapon balancing. I think a couple things need to be buffed, a couple things need to be nerfed, but other than that, really, I mean, it's pretty solid this year. Honestly, I think between Modern Warfare and this year, we've been having better years for Call of Duty, I think, recently, than we did when there was advanced movement, because personally, advanced movement ruined COD for me. Ghost was okay. It wasn't my cup of tea, but BO2 was also in its prime, so I could just go back to BO2. But when advanced movement came out, I feel like that was the true downfall. I didn't really like to even look forward to the next games. Like, I don't know, man. I just didn't like those games. And then World War II came out, and World War II was still so different, and BO4 was different. And all these games were so much, different. But this is like the first year where I'm actually looking at it, and I'm like, wow, this is really like the closest we've gotten to an old school COD. Especially an old school Treyarch COD at that. So I mean, ultimately, I definitely think everything's going to play out pretty well this year, as much as I know a lot of people are being really negative about the game. I would think, honestly, it's really not as bad as people are making it out to be, and I think it has a lot of growing. I mean, honestly, the game is already better than Modern Warfare by far. There's a lot of rough edges, but other than that, really, it's not like it's broken. There's been a lot of other years where we've played and it has been broken. But let's just get into probably the biggest positives and negatives that I see with this game so far. Positives, honestly, as much as I think a lot of people don't like the maps, I think the maps are a positive. It's a big step forward from Modern Warfare. Are they big? Yeah. But I honestly, I see the maps not really being that much of a bad thing, especially if you're playing like team-based, like objective game modes. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. I think a lot of the people who are complaining about it are the same people playing TDM, and as much as I understand, TDM's a great game mode, I think people have such a high standard for it, and they want it to be fast-paced, but TDM has never been really that fast-paced to start with, especially 6v6. The only games that I can really think of fast-paced 6v6 TDM are like BO2, BO3 was pretty fast-paced. Most of the Treyarch games, but BO1, even BO1, the maps were really big. So for 6v6, personally, I did not think TDM was really that great in BO1, personally. If I wanted to play a game mode in BO1, more so I'd want to play either like Ground War or Domination 6v6. I didn't want to play TDM because it was so slow. So honestly, I'm not going to be playing TDM too much this year, probably at all. I'll most likely be playing Hardpoint, Domination, Probably just a bunch of objective game modes. Probably not going to play much TDM at all. Maybe a little bit if I'm just trying to chill out, but I doubt it. I doubt I'm going to play a lot of it. Another thing, honestly, that I really like about this game is the gunplay. The gunplay is really, really good. It is very solid. The balancing is pretty good for a beta, especially a beta. There's nothing personally that I see completely outshines everything else. Like, most of the ARs are pretty solid. I mean, I think the AK is really good. What else? The MP5 is really good, obviously. The AK-74U is pretty damn good. All of the ARs or the SMGs rather are pretty good. I think the only one that maybe isn't the best is the KSP, but even that one, like, I mean, it's not really as much as an SMG as like I see an AR, honestly. At least the way that I built it when I did my gameplay for it, which I'll get into eventually. It seemed more of like an AR, like a 3-round burst AR. But like all of them were really solid. The ARs were pretty solid. They felt really good. The LMGs, personally, I think were underpowered. That's just me. I know that's probably sin to say, but the LMGs were a bit underpowered in my opinion. I don't know. It kind of they felt underpowered. Same with the shotguns, and I understand that they're a secondary, but you know, I don't mind having powerful shotguns in a game. Like BO2, I didn't mind the shotguns, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it was annoying sometimes, but they were ultimately really fun to use. And same thing with the LMGs. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I would much rather have everything be pretty viable and pretty, like, you know, maneuverable. But I feel like the shotguns, and more so the pump one, not the spaz. The spaz is pretty damn good, but the pump one, I feel like it needs a damage buff or a range buff or something. More so, I think, along the lines of damage, because I was using the longest barrel and it still wasn't really that great. So yeah, and I mean, the snipers are really good. I definitely can see where people are coming from, where they're upset that the snipers are very powerful. And they are really powerful. I definitely think they're really good. And, you know, compared to Modern Warfare, it's a completely new thing. I mean, even Black Ops 4, I mean, I think everyone is not understanding why they think the snipers are so powerful as well. And I think it really comes down to, this is the first real boots on ground Treyarch game that's, you know, set in the past and not as much, you know, hopping around as there was in like BO4, BO3. Because even though BO3 was technically boots on grounds, that game was basically just BO3 light. You still could, like, it was basically everything BO3 was, except you couldn't really boost up, but you can slide really fast. You could jump really high. It was, you know, it was rough. And the snipers, you know, most people weren't able to use them because, well, they had no aim assist. They were pretty slow as well. And I mean, they are pretty slow here, I would say, compared to games like BO2, you know, they have aim assists, and they're pretty consistent when you really start to unlock the attachments for them. And when you unlock those attachments, man, they really do become really fun to use. But I definitely can get where people are kind of annoyed with that. I don't really know how to, you know, I don't know how you would nerf them. I feel like, you know, I wish they would get rid of aim assists to an extent, but I don't think that's going to happen. Damage-wise, I think they're in a good spot. You know, they're usually center mass or upper chest, which makes sense. It's a sniper. The ADS speed is really solid, I think. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can build them to be really fast, but you also have some trade-offs there. So, you know, I think the base speed is fine. I think it really comes down to probably the whole flinch mechanic, honestly. Most of the guns don't have flinch in this game, and I mean, I get it, but I mean, I would be fine with flinch, to be honest. If they would add flinch, it shouldn't be too crazy, but it is a little bit ridiculous that you can get shot. I think it's ridiculous that they removed it entirely. I know it's a good thing and people are happy about it, but it's kind of just like, I don't know. It's really weird. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it yet. Like, I think it's a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. And it makes balancing certain weapons really difficult, like snipers, because when you get rid of flinch, it just makes guns lasers. If you can handle the recoil, the guns are just lasers at that point. You're not gonna have any penalty. The only thing is visual, and as long as you're okay with like centering with literally any gun, you're gonna be completely fine. And that's where it's kind of like it's weird. It's definitely weird. So I think maybe we need flinch on the snipers. I think mobility wise and every other way, I think they're fine, honestly. I don't think they need to nerf them any other way, because if you nerf them any other way, they start to become a lot less viable as an option. And as much as I understand people don't like them, I still believe that every weapon in the game should be viable. And that's what I think makes COD great, you know what I mean? I liked back running in BO2 with, you know, you could run pistols as primaries, basically. So, you know, that's kind of the thing I like, you know, be able to using any gun, and it's not insanely hard to really find that niche for it, you know what I mean? So that's, I mean, but that's a big positive for me in this game personally. So maps and gunplay and weapon balance, that's my thoughts on it now. I think negatives, obviously skill-based matchmaking, it's a thing, we get it, nothing you could really do about it, you know about it. Yeah, that's that. I think one of the biggest negatives in this game, I would probably say, is as much as the map design is really cool, I think actually some of the game modes are kind of being split again, like the whole combined arms thing. I think it's really cool that they're doing something different, but I really think when it comes down to it, I don't understand why basically we are changing the amount of maps that everyone can use and play. Now let me explain what I'm saying here. So I'm sure everyone remembers MW2, and if you don't, basically you could probably see where I'm going with this. We had 6v6, but we also had a 9v9 ground war. Now back then you could pretty much play like the same 6v6 maps you would play on ground war. There wasn't custom maps just for the ground war mode. It was certain maps were left out, obviously, like Rust. It just makes sense. But I honestly think that we're coming to a point where we're just splitting up the amount of maps that everyone can play. And I think it's just making it feel like there's less content. And I think this has been the problem for the past couple years. And I think it's really simple to fix it, but we've already, you know, seen what they're doing now. And that's that, well, they're just splitting up the modes. And I can understand why, but like, even there's some maps like Armada, like, even if you wanted to cut off corners, like, what are you gonna be able, there's not much you can do on a map like Armada. I mean, I guess you can have everyone fight in the middle ship and make that a map, but it's really hard to do that, I think, and it would be really weird. I honestly think the simplest solution is just make like normal sized maps, but then when you want to have like a domination, you know, like 5-point, basically kind of like a Battlefield clone, or you have the war mode, which is assault, like, just use the normal maps. Like, Miami is definitely big enough to have like a 12v12 easily, I think, and honestly, it would be a lot of fun. It would be just complete chaos. And honestly, that's what I think a lot of people like in the Call of Duty community. There's definitely a lot of people who like having a really chaotic gameplay. It is fun. So I don't know. I don't know why we don't, try something like that out. That would be pretty neat. And I honestly think that is probably the one thing that's going to hold this game back, because they're going to make maps for that. And we're going to not have as much maps as we did for 6v6 in other games. And that's a problem. World War II had that issue. And as much as I really liked the idea of having, I think it was, what was it called? War or something? I can't remember. It was fun, but at the same time, with that being said, I think that's going to be it for my review of Black Ops Cold War. In the future, for the rest of this month, I have a gameplay with each and every gun, and that will go up every day. And I may or may not do a in-depth on sniping. So with that being said, that's it for today's video. Peace out.